Hi, I'm Angela, and we're going to make a blog post graphic that's going to be perfect for Pinterest. And this is great for if you've never opened Photoshop before, or if you've done a few things but you're not sure that you're setting everything up correctly. So to start up a new project, you can then go to File and New, or just come down and click Create New. And we want to first make sure that we're in pixels. And then for the width, I'm going to try 780 by a height of 1100. This is just a good general graphic for Pinterest, a good size. Leave the resolution at 72 and make sure the color mode is RGB and click Create. Now for this project, I'm going to keep it super simple. We're going to use a photo and some text, and that's about it. So go to your folder where you keep all of your stock photos and find the one that you want, and you're really just going to drag it straight into Photoshop. It's that simple. Now that I've got it here, I can move it around where I want it, and I want to make sure that this covers my canvas size completely. So come down to a corner and hold down your Shift key and drag your image so that it covers your full project here. And you can even make it bigger, kind of get it where you think you want it. But always hold down your Shift key and drag from the corners. If you don't do that, you risk squishing your photos, and squished photos are bad. So once you've got it where you like it, click the check mark. And you can still play with it a little bit if you want. And one note about choosing the best photos, you want to look for something called copy space. And all that means is that you have space to put your text in. Copy is another name for text. So like right up here, this is a great spot to put text in because it's really nice and light. The same would apply if I had a photo that had a really dark area. I could put white text there. So copy space just means that you're looking for a great spot to put text in. So now that I have my photo, let's add the text. So come down to your type tool, and at the top here, you can choose whatever font you want. If you're not sure what fonts to choose, check in the blog post that goes along with this video, and I've got some great ideas there. And let's see, I know that I want it to be kind of large, so I'll put it at the highest size available, and I can still change that later. And I want this to be dark colored text, so I come to my color box here, and I can go to a black, but I kind of like a dark gray. So I'll put it on a dark gray, which is right to the side over here. Click OK, and then I can just start typing. Notice how it kind of went off the side? That's okay. I'll come back to my tool at the top, which is called the Move tool, and that lets me move it around wherever I want. And if I didn't spell something right, I can just come back to my text tool and change that. And I think I want to put this on 2 lines. So I'll do that. Click the check mark. Now I want to make this a little bit bigger to kind of fill out my space right here. So I'm going to come down again to the corner, click it, and then I'll hold down my Shift key. Really, really helpful to keep from squishing things as you're resizing them. So I hold down my Shift key, kind of move it all around, get it where I want it, and then click the check mark. 8 healthy breakfast ideas. Now I have a little tagline that I want to add down here. So I'm going to go down to my text tool again. But this time I want to change the font. So I can do that and then just start typing. Once I'm done with that, I come back to my Move tool and I will move it all around. And do you see there's a pink line right here? When I'm moving it, there's a pink line going from the top to the bottom. That means that I have my text in the perfect center of my project. Really handy. And I can move it up, get it wherever I want. And just like that, I have a blog post image finished. But I want to do one more thing, and I want to add my blog post title, or I'm sorry, not my blog post, but my blog title at the very bottom down here, so people know what blog this is coming from. So to do that, I want to make it look just like this, but a little bit smaller. So rather than going back to my text tool and retyping that out, I'm just going to copy this. And a really quick way to do that is to hold down your Option or your Alt key and click and drag off a new copy. Very handy. and I'll type in the name of my blog. Now I want to resize it, so I'm going to come and click the corner, hold down the Shift key, and make it smaller. And I'll pull it all the way down to the bottom. And right like that, people know where this comes from. I can put this on Pinterest and it would look great, and it matches my blog. And I'm done. I've got my blog name at the bottom with my title right here, very easy to read. And all it is a photo and some text. Now I need to save this, and to do that, I'll go to File, Save As, and just type in whatever name I want to use and save it. Go to whatever folder you want to save it as. Click OK. Now I have my Photoshop file saved, but I need to do one more thing before I can upload this to my blog. I need to export this as a JPEG file. So to do that, I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As. All right, so I'll come over to the top here, the top right, and choose JPEG, JPG. And if I look over on the other side, I can see what size this is going to end up being. Right now it tells me this is going to end up being 348 kilobytes. Well, keep in mind that every single graphic you upload to your blog makes a difference in how quickly your blog page will load. If you have a lot of graphics that are a big, heavy size, your page is going to take a long time to load and you might lose readers. So the goal is always to have a high quality image, but as low of a size as possible. I try and shoot for as close to 100 kilobytes as possible. Sometimes I have to go up to about 300 or so, but I like to be as close to 100 as I can. This is obviously more than 100. So to change that, I'm going to come back over here to the quality. And I can move this slider down, or I could just type in a new number. And let's see what happens when I do 70. Okay, I get 134. That's pretty good. I'm okay with that. I don't really like going too much below 70 because I want this to look good on my blog post. But again, I'm always trying to find a balance between the quality and the size. So 134, I'm good with that, and a quality of 70. That's all I need. Export, and you can save this wherever you want. And now you can upload that image that you just saved, your JPEG, to WordPress or Squarespace or whatever your blog uses. And the best part about learning how to do this in Photoshop is that you've just created a template that you can use for your next blog post image. So let's say that you write another blog post, and this time you choose a graphic that is dark. For example, let's go with this one right here. And again, I want to hold down my Shift key and drag from the corner and make this bigger to match my full project size here. And I'll kind of drag it over to the side. And this gives me a little bit of copy space right here to use. Now, one more thing I want to do before I go too much farther is I want to save this under a new name. So File, Save As, and I'm going to pick a different name because I don't want to erase or overwrite what I just did. I'm making a brand new graphic from my old graphic, but I don't want to lose the old graphic. So make sure you always save it under a new name. Now, let's go over here and we have what's called the Layers panel. If you'll notice, I lost all my text. It disappeared. Well, it didn't really. It's just hiding. So if I come over to my Layers panel, it shows every single thing that I've put into Photoshop. All my text layers, all of my photos, everything comes out as a layer. So all I need to do is drag this down below my text. And now I can get to work just changing a few things. Now I want to change up my headline. So I come back to my text tool, highlight that, and just type in a new blog post name. And let's say I don't want this centered anymore. I want it aligned to the left. And I want the text to be white. So I'm starting to make a few changes here. And even more, I want to change the font. I want kind of a big chunky font for this one. So I come back up to my move tool and I start changing it around. And I want to make this bigger. So like I did before, click in the corner, hold down your shift key and drag it out to make it big as you want. Now I'll change my tagline. If you have one, you don't need a tagline with every blog post you do. I'll do some of the same things that I did before. Change it to white. Align it to the left. And that's a really thin font right there. I think I want a little bit thicker one. So I'll highlight all of that. Come to the font. And again, all the fonts that I'm using are in the blog post. Just glance at the bottom of the blog post and you'll see a list of everything that I've used here. Okay, starting to look better. And like before, I want to have my blog name, but I want to have it in the same font as my tagline here. So I can change everything with this like I just did for that, but that takes a few minutes. So instead, I'm going to just click on this to select it and hit my delete key and get rid of it. And do what I did before. And while I have my tagline selected, hold down my Alt or Option key and just pull off a brand new layer there. And I want to retype my blog name. Click the check mark and then come back to my move tool because I want to resize this. So click in the corner, hold down Shift and resize it. And that works pretty well. Okay, almost done. I want to add one more thing because this is a darker photo, yes, but my white text still doesn't stand out just perfectly against it. It kind of blends in a little bit. So we're going to help that out a bit. Here's kind of a fancy trick, very simple. And we're going to add a drop shadow just to make it stand out a bit. So over in my layers panel, look at the very bottom and you'll see a little icon that looks like an FX. That's your layer style option. So click on that and click drop shadow. A lot of options. We're only concerned with a few of them. So let's see. I can play around with, usually I just play around with these three right here. The distance, the spread, and the size. And I don't want too obvious of a drop shadow. And if I look over on my my graphic, I can actually see in real time what's happening, which is pretty cool. If you don't see it, come over here and click preview to make sure you see what's actually happening. So I don't want to make an obvious drop shadow. I just want to make it more legible, easier on the eye to read that. And I'm pretty good with that. So I'll click OK. And if I look in my layers panel, you can see that I just added an effect. Now I want to add this same drop shadow to my two other text layers. And here's a shortcut to do that. Come over to my layer, and where it says effects and drop shadow, right click in that area right there. Right click and you will see the option to copy the layer style. Now if I come over to my other text layers, just right click and choose paste layer style. And right there you go. And I'll do it to my other one also. Right click, paste layer style. And in a matter of just a few minutes, I took one graphic and turned it over into another style. So once you get the hang of just a couple of little tricks in Photoshop, you have templates set up and you're starting to build your own portfolio of blog graphic images that you can change up whenever you want. It's as simple as that.